Today we're going to eavesdrop on a conversation between curator Meghan Budinger and archaeologist Laura Galke as they discuss utensils recovered archaeologically at George Washington's Ferry Farm, what those utensils say about the Washingtons' lives, and how those artifacts helped us furnish the Washington House replica with appropriate objects.
When we look at the Washington family's probate inventory, made when Augustine Washington died in 1743, the only utensils they inventory are those that are made from silver or plate. And so archaeology is the only way at this particular site that we can see just what the Washingtons are using. We have more forks than anything. We have about 20 colonial era forks. They're concentrated at the Washington House, in and around the Washington House. This one is perhaps the earliest one. Those really long tines are characteristic of earlier forks, especially as how long they are in relation to the shaft. And so it could be Washington, it might even be from the Strother family. This was found right outside the home, in that midden area between the home and the task yard. If you look at these forks, most of them are missing their bone handles. We don't actually know for certain what kind of handles that these fit into. Many of them just don't preserve archaeologically. These have been buried in the ground for so many hundreds of years. It's possible they're antler or bone or wood. The ones that we have recovered archaeologically are bone. They reflect that bone. By the mid-century, lots of middling colonists in Virginia, in the Chesapeake, enjoy forks, but a lot of Virginians still seem to think they're luxuries. Wouldn't you say, Megan? It's still sort of considered not really critical?
Exactly. I'd say that's a luxury item if you got forks on your table. And so this really indicates to us that the Washingtons have sort of made a leap into another level of fine dining.
I agree, and I do think there's a bit of latitude in what folks consider middling Virginians or affluent Virginians and how they're incorporating these forks. So in the 1600s, not many colonists are using them, and some people even found that they were effeminate. These are just a few of our spoon examples, and these are table spoons. These are set at individual place settings. This is different from the 1600s. This is perhaps our earliest spoon here, but this has a fig-shaped bowl and probably dates from the Strother occupation, maybe even from the Harwood Clark occupation. This style, this dog nose style, was especially popular in the first quarter of the 1700s, but it was found in a root cellar that dates it from the Washington occupation. And this Hanoverian style, pretty standard style for spoon, that also represents 1700s. And this particular spoon is a very elegant and expensive one, also one designed to set at a particular table space, an individual setting. But what gives away its date is this emblem on the back, which was popular starting in the 1760s, that it was likely imported from London, and that it would have been a very expensive example of a spoon.
So that's a showpiece
Yes.
spoon. That's a signifier of wealth.
In the 1700s, it's a whole new ball game, and between 1700 and 1750, there's a lot of change in how folks are using dining utensils. Ultimately, you get individual place settings. Earlier on, people are sharing things.
Exactly, and this is actually one of those situations where the archaeology of the site really backed up some things that we were maybe suspecting or speculating on in the furnishings of the house, because the house, the Washington House, is clearly a very nice house for the time period. It's very sort of very gentry level. The Washingtons are living a much better lifestyle in that house than the vast majority of their colonial compatriots at the time. But there's still, like you were saying, a lot of latitude within nice to know exactly what level they were at. And I think, looking at the probate inventory, we could tell that they were using the hall in the house as a dining room, per se. There's clearly dining furniture and very nice dining furniture in the house. But there is this sort of transitional time period in the early 18th century up until about mid-18th century in households in Virginia, in which the hall is still holding on to remnants of a very earlier time period. It's still a sort of primitive use of the space. There are sometimes livestock that are bedded down in the hall to keep them warm on winter nights. It's a communal sleeping space in the earlier years. It is an entertaining space, but much more of almost a community gathering kind of place. And so having archaeological evidence like this array of specialized dining utensils really indicates to us that the Washingtons, in their furnishings and in their style of living, have made the transition. They're starting to ease out of that sort of very early primitive time period and are living a more refined lifestyle. Now, there's still a long way to go before they get to the style of life that we see at Kenmore in the late 18th century, but they have made the transition. And we wouldn't necessarily have known that if we didn't see items like this coming out of the archaeological finds.
Because there's not a lot of historical documents from this period in George's life and what his childhood home was like, emblems like this of gentility and refinement and a little bit special purchases are really important to sort of characterize this household as one that did make some investments in ways that were perhaps most showy in dining when you have company or something, that these folks are sort of displaying how proud they are of being colonial Virginians.